Hey guys, today we're back with another video, and today we're going to talk about long exposure shots. So I have done a few examples last night. I did some 2 long exposure shots, one with the steel wool that I did. It didn't turn out that great because a friend of mine was supposed to come over the weekend, but he cancelled on the last second, so I did not expect by doing that alone. Usually it's better to do that with someone that can operate the camera and then pose or do something with the light, so it's better to do it with someone than alone. So yeah, that didn't go as planned. It pretty sucked. We planned it like through the entire week and then he just cancelled on me, but nonetheless I went through with it, tried on my own. I'll show you the results later of what it kind of would be like. I'll show you some of my old photos where I had someone that could operate the camera and take the photo, and then I posed. So you just need to get your settings correctly and then you can take the photo, but we'll show you the difference now. One thing you need to know about long exposure shots is that your camera needs to be still. It can't be shaking or moving, otherwise your photo is going to be blurry. Put it on a tripod or put it on a bag or a wall or something. It really keeps that image nice and clean when you're taking your long exposure shots, especially with stars and stuff like that. I did a steel wool long exposure shot like this one, and what I used was a whisk that was tied to a piece of rope. It was actually like a conference thing where you put your tag on, something like that, but I tied it to that and then put the whisk on that. The other thing I used was steel wool, obviously, which you need to light, and you need a lighter for that. So you put the steel wool inside of the whisk and then you light it with the lighter, and then as soon as it takes, you have to swing it and then it makes these sparks. So this is the result I have had when I shot last night. And see, it takes a lot of practice and a lot of trial and error to accomplish these things, because you can't see the photo after you've done it. So you have to adjust your settings, you have to do it multiple times to get it right. And I only did it twice because I didn't want to use that much steel wool that I have. I want to use it for different shoots as well. Most important thing about long exposure shots, especially with shooting stars and things, is light in the city. Wherever you are, try and find the darkest place you can find, because if you have lights coming in from the side of the lens, it really brights it up and it struggles to shoot that far and get the nice clean long exposure shots. You would have some different colors in the sky and stuff like that. So for example, I have lights outside my house, and then especially for street lights as well, they definitely give a warmer feel to the long exposure shot, and it could get in the way. So it's not a great idea to shoot long exposure shots, for like example for stars in the city, because it kind of gets, all that light gets captured into the lens and it could not end up as you think it would. So try and find a darkest place where you can do it, basically on like an open field or something where there's no lights. But anyway, those are like 2 of the examples. There are so many. For example, I took this LED mask that I got for Halloween, and I used this LED mask to do a long exposure shot. It's an LED light into this mask that I control with the remote. So this I use to hold it up at different places, and then I moved it around so it captures all the lights that I travel with. So I would move from one location to another, and it would capture the lights going through there. Obviously, the longer you stay inside one spot, the more light it picks up and the more clear it comes. You just have to stand very still for that. the more effort you put into this, to the shooting of this, the better the photo would come out. So make sure all your settings is correct. You have to try and shoot as many as you can, because it might not turn out the way you wanted to. So I would shoot one like this, one with these settings, one with that settings, and then see which one would be the best to take at the end and edit. So this is what it kind of looked like, those LED mask photos. So this is the long exposure shot that I took, and I kind of merged them, and this is what I got as a result. Gives that scary mask floating in the sky effect. So I think it turned out pretty cool. Okay, let's talk about the settings of your camera. Like I said, try and get a nice wide aperture, depending on what you're shooting. If it's like steel wool, try and bring that aperture. You don't have to put it on the lowest, you can put it higher. It makes a lot of light. The steel wool effect makes a lot of light, so you might want to put your aperture a bit higher. Try and bring your ISO as low as possible, because the lower your ISO is, the less noise you'll have in your photo. This helps with like seeing all the detail, and it's not that grindiness that you would see in some photos. So it also helps if you have a better camera that can shoot in low lights, but always try and bring your aperture your ISO lower as possible. I wouldn't necessarily want to go higher than between 400 800 ISO, otherwise the photo is too noisy for me. But it depends on what kind of thing you're shooting though, so be careful for that. You can also always denoise it in Lightroom, but always try and get it perfect in camera shots. So the other advice I would give is your shutter speed. The longer it stays open, the more light it gains, the more time you have to move the mask around. So let's say about 30 seconds, then you have 30 seconds to move that mask around wherever you can, and it creates more in that photo. Well, there you have it, guys. That is my advice on long exposure shots. There's the photos you guys seen. Yeah, I think it has been a good one. Try and experiment as much as you can, guys. There is no limits on long exposure shots. You can be as creative as possible. People are still creating amazing long exposure shots, and it's the most exciting part of photography, night photography, is that long exposure. It is absolutely endless possibilities what you can do with long exposure shots, and I think I've only scratched the surface, even barely. There's so many things, and I'm excited to carry on with long exposure shots. I have so many ideas that I want to do and take place, and I think I want to try and execute a long exposure shot. I'll post it on Instagram. I don't think I might make a video about that, but I want to execute one that I've been dreaming about to do. I've seen a video about it a long time ago, and I definitely want to do it, but I'll leave that as we get closer to actually doing it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please leave a like and share this video. It really helps, and subscribe if you're interested in seeing more of this content. And yeah, I hope you guys have an awesome week. I'll see you next time. Peace.